Hello, folks. Uh, Good to be with you again. I have a good friend of mine here, Pastor Stanley Talley. He pastors a church in Bogalusa called United Faith. I encourage you, once all this is over with, if you're around Bogalusa, to stop by and see him. But he stopped by here with us today, and he's going to share a word with us, and we're glad to have him. Brother?
Thank you, Eric. I'm not going to speak to you as a pastor today, but as a professional counselor. I've been doing this for about 45 years, and I would like to address a few things that I think that might help us during this time of this pandemic. Many years ago, I saw a concept that I have followed and used and put it into practice in my own personal life, as well as trying to help people through different crises in their life. And when people get into times like this, or whether it's just personal problems that you're having in your life, uh, sometimes we get overwhelmed with our mental state, and sometimes our spiritual part of us becomes all confused, and it causes sometimes some emotional problems uh, result from this. And then if it lingers on too long, we can have some physical medical problems from this. So many years ago, I used this model, and if you've got some notes, you might want to take some notes on this because I'm going to kind of give you a crash course on this today, and maybe we can do slow down and do each one of these by part at another time. But basically, as we read the story of Job, we see that Job went through a pretty serious crisis in his life. I won't try to reread any of those scriptures or tell that story of Job, but we know that he had a lot, and then all of a sudden he woke up one day and he didn't have anything. He had a family. He had a lot of servants. He had a lot of financial investments. He was rich in agriculture and etc. And then all of a sudden he woke up one day and he didn't have anything. Um, then he woke up one day and he began to have boils on his body, which might have been some form of cancer or some form of leprosy. And these things began to disturb him to the point that his relationship with God was hindered by that. So what we have to realize, we all have some Job experiences, and personally, from my frame of reference today, I think that we're probably all personally going through a Job experience. Maybe you're socially not with the people that you want to be with. Maybe you're missing people. You're lonely. Maybe you're physically being affected by this. Maybe spiritually you're being affected by this. And then also, it may be causing you to not sleep. Your appetite has changed. For some people, they're gaining weight because the anxiety that we're going through is making us eat more because we have less activity on us. And just a whole lot of things go on during these times that we have these Job experiences. So what we're trying to say today is they're just a conglomeration of all kinds of stuff that goes on at these crisis times, these Job experiences that we've got going on. And what I'd like to do is just break this down and tell you that your body, as the Bible said, is a temple, and is a temple of the Holy Spirit. And we entertain God in our body. And if you get anything from this today, take home from this that we need to take care of our temple. We need to take care of our body. Somebody might ask the question, well, how are you going to tell me in such a short period of time how to take care of my body? We're going to do that by simply telling you that there's 5 parts of your body. And every bit of this is rooted in science and also rooted in Scripture. There's 5 parts of your body. When God made the total person, He put together 5 parts of the total person. The first part, number 1, is your physical part. The physical part is the part that is the medical. It's the medical. It's the biology of the body. It's the place where we have pain, physical pain. It's the place where we have stomach ailments, headaches, diabetes, cancer, high blood pressure, all of the medical maladies that we have to suffer and take medicines and go to the doctor and even sometimes be hospitalized for. All of that is affected in the physical part of our body. It's the medical part. It's the biology. It's the organs. It's the tissues. It's the muscles. It's the nerves. It's the chemistry. It's all of that put together in one part called the physical part of our body. Number two is the social part of the body. There is a social part of you. The social part of you wants to be in a relationship with people. You want to be affiliated with people. You want to have interaction with people. You want to feel connected to people. When you're ostracized and you have been excluded from a group or a gathering of people or an affiliation of people, and all of a sudden you wake up and they have divorced themselves from you or they pushed you out of their life or their inner circles, that social part is going to be affected. That social part is going to cause you to have a lot of misery because we like to feel connected. We don't like to be disconnected. This Job experience that we're going through this pandemic is testing a lot of social parts of us. Sometimes we're not. I know some people that are not able to see their loved ones. I have a loved one right now that's in the nursing home, and I have not been able to see that loved one since about the second Tuesday of March, and here it is, the 6th of May. I miss that person. That person's had the coronavirus during that time and has overed it, but that's disturbing me because I feel like I need to lay eyes on that person, be with that person, talk to that person, interact with that person. So my social part has been affected. The next part is the mental part, or what we could call the psychological part. The psychological mental part of our body is where our thoughts come from. It's where we make decisions. It's where we intellectually stimulate ourselves with activities that we learned. It could be certain subjects that we're researching that we want to gain knowledge of, where we stimulate that mental part. It's the part of our body that makes us learn, retain information, remember, and file things into our memory banks. It's all of the thought processes that are in your body. It happens in the mental and psychological part of your body. It's the place where we start doing problem solving, not just problem solving from mathematics and arithmetic and calculus and algebra, but problem solving in the sense of problem solving some of the social problems we may have, or some of the emotional problems we have, or whatever. So it's there. That's a very important part of our body. It's a very important part of each of us, is the mental part, and we have to pay respect to that, and we have to do something to try to take care of that, because that can have an effect upon our social life and also our physical part of us. Number three is the emotional part. I'm sorry, number four. Number one is the physical. Number two is the social. Number three is the mental. And number four is the emotional. This is our feeling base. Emotions are feelings. And this is where I want to slow down and capture your thinking right now, because people are confused over this. Sometimes I propose this question, and I love the answers that I get. And the question sometimes I ask is this: do thoughts cause our feelings, or do feelings cause our thoughts? Think about that. Do thoughts cause our feelings, or do feelings cause our thoughts? To rush to the answer to that, and it's pretty supported in the Word of God as well as in scientific company, is that our thoughts cause our feelings. So if you're angry today, that's a feeling. If you're frustrated today, that's a feeling. If you're disappointed, that is a feeling. If you're afraid and you're suffering with a fear or an anxiety, anxiety is a form of a fear. If you're suffering with any of those things today, those are emotions. They're basis of feelings. And remember, they start from a thought. When you're angry, you can stop your anger. This is one of the best lessons on anger management I could give in a crash course. The best way to manage your anger is to stop what's in the head, stop what's in the thought. If you can stop what's in the thought, you can control the anger, you can control the emotion. So we're going through a lot of emotions, different types, a kaleidoscope of different types of emotions that run through us at a time like this. This will keep us awake at night. This will keep us with a scrambled brain that we cannot shut our brain down and go to sleep and sleep through the night and get a good peaceful rest. And that's why we're tired the next day. That's why we eat more. That's why we're irritable with our children or the people we associate with, because we haven't had a good night's rest. And the brain needs to shut down at night and unplug and recharge its battery and its chemistry and its nervous system so that we can be ready to start our next day and the things that we have to face the next day. So in this emotional part, which is our feeling part, sometimes there's some good feelings and then there's some bad feelings. I know I've been talking about bad feelings like the bad emotions of anger and disappointment, frustration, all those things are bad. But we can also allow our mind and our emotions to be flooded with positive things too, positive things like joy, positive things like peace, positive things like a companionship with people, a relationship. Those things are things that bond us to people. And we can't have those positive relationships until we have our emotions stable in whatever connection or relationship that we're going through. So number one is your physical part, the medical part of you, the biology of you. Number two is your social part. That is your part of you that's connected to people, that's affiliated with people. Number three is your mental part, which is your thought processes, the place where you make decisions and rational judgment and where you gain insight. That's your psychological and mental part. Then number four is your emotional part. That's the place where you get your feelings and your emotions. And it's the base of what's going on in your life emotionally. And then number five, which is the last one, is the spiritual. Probably some people think that we probably should have mentioned the spiritual part first. But part of you has a spiritual part. God made that. When He designed the human being, when He put us all together and He put all these parts together, He made sure that there was a place inside of us called the spiritual part. The spiritual part is where we get connection to God. It's where we learn what our mission is in this world. People without a mission lack some things spiritual. Spiritual is our belief system. Spiritual is the place where we focus and we're guided day by day. Things that prod us, things that push us, things that motivate us to do the things that we know that are right. And those are the spiritual parts of us. So it is that place where we entertain God and the relationship with God. It is that place that Satan, like he did with Job, he wanted to kill that part. He wanted to decimate and destroy that part of Job. And he was taking away the physical part of him, and he destroyed his social part. He destroyed his mental and emotional part to try to get to that spiritual man. But as you know, the man, Job, survived, and in the end, he was able to restore all of that and actually was a better looking guy at the end of it. Even his children were better looking children at the end of it because he never allowed Satan to destroy the spiritual part. So in this time of the pandemic, this time of uncertainty, we don't know when, where, what's going to happen. We listen to the news, we follow the media, One channel tells you one thing, one channel tells you another. You follow social media, they tell you something else. You go to your neighbor, you go to your friends, you listen to their take on all this. But how can we maybe get within ourselves and just marinate in His Spirit, in the spiritual part, and allow Him to speak to us and give us some guidance? The best thing that you can do to come out of that is to have a sense of peace that you get with God, a sense of peace, where that you are restored with Him, where that you are strengthened by Him, and you're feeling His enablement and Him being able to direct you and to direct your spirit in the way that it should go day by day by day, because we don't know what the end of all this will bring. So as I try to close with this, I'm going to bring a summary. This is something that's very important. If you're taking notes, is that one breakdown in any one of these four areas, or excuse me, five areas, any breakdown in any five of these areas can have a domino effect on all of the other four. Does that make sense? If you have a breakdown, and let's just say physically, you have been given a diagnosis of that's dreadful, debilitating illness and diagnosis. That can affect you mentally. It can affect you socially. It can affect you emotionally because you will cry. You will become depressed. You will become uh, the feeling of everything is over with. My life is fixing to end. All of those things. And then, if you're not careful, it could affect your spiritual part, and you could start blaming God or asking God questions of why me, and not trying to figure out what's going on with maybe what God is trying to do in this situation. Also, in that spiritual part is where our faith is originated. Yes, we have faith in leaders. We have faith in systems of government. We have faith in the ability when we walk out to our driveway and crank our car, it's going to crank and carry us to the destination point. But our faith in God, which is a daily thing, that comes from the spiritual part. And you're able to have that faith based upon the performance of how God has performed and blessed you and done the things He's done. That builds that spiritual part. So as we close here today, let's look at this one more time. If you have a breakdown in one or two, it has a domino effect upon all the other parts. And that's where some of us are at in this pandemic. We are being affected. So if you could just stop and look at this model, try to figure out where have I been affected and where can I start? Is it my emotions? Is that's what's causing me to not want to get out and be the social person that I was, or if it's affecting you physically, where you're having an increase of appetite, or you can't sleep, or you're being developing new illnesses that's causing you to have some physical pain, or having to go to the doctor and take new medicines, whatever. Those things could directly be resulted from an emotional issue that you're struggling with, or a mental part that you can't figure out and frustrated. I've actually had people ask me, say, can you actually have you actually seen people who were affected in all five of the areas? Absolutely, yes. And that is not a very uh, enjoyable time of a person's life where all of that's been affected. But as we can try to home in on each one of those places where we've been affected, it will navigate us through this. We'll get through this. And most of all, we'll be able to protect and preserve the spiritual part of us that's most important, because that is a navigator that we need every day of our life. Thank you for this time that we've been able to spend with you, and I hope that I've been able to say something that didn't confuse you, but help maybe minister to you in some way. Thank you, Eric, for giving me this opportunity.
All right, Brother Stanley, we appreciate you being here with us today. And we'll see y'all next time. God bless.